The Beta XTrainer is a unique motorcycle. There are several 300 two-stroke off-road motorcycles on the market to choose from, but the XTrainer features a slightly smaller package to make it easier to ride, especially for those that are a bit shorter. Beta markets the XTrainer as an entry-level off-road bike, and a lot of people think of it as a girl's bike. After spending several weeks riding the XTrainer and allowing other riders of various skill levels to ride it, we would argue it is a confidence-boosting off-road motorcycle for just about any level of rider. The seat height is about an inch lower, and the foot pegs are about a half inch lower than a typical high-performance off-road bike. The 292cc two-stroke engine is similar to the one found in the more racy Beta 300RR, but it has been tuned for mellower power delivery, primarily via the noticeably smaller exhaust pipe. All of this makes the bike easy to ride and provides the confidence to tackle more difficult terrain. That may be a dirt road for a beginner or a gnarly trail or hard enduro event for a more experienced rider. Like the Beta RR models, the 292cc two-stroke utilizes a 6-speed transmission and includes a 2-position power switch to change the power delivery. It utilizes a 36mm Keihin PWK carburetor and an oil injection system, so you don't need to mix the oil and the fuel. This simple feature is really appreciated as you don't have to have separate gas cans for 4-stroke bikes with friends or family. The clutch is a hydraulically controlled diaphragm style and has an easy pull. The electric start with optional backup kickstarter will be appreciated by riders of all levels. It also includes an aluminum kickstand that tucks up nicely out of the way and has a large tip for soft dirt. A headlight and enduro-style computer includes speed, odometer, 2 separate trips, and an hour meter, which is also a great standard feature. The Nissan brakes are similar to those found on Honda motocross and off-road models just a few years ago. The Sachs suspension has 10.6 inches of front and rear wheel travel, which is about an inch less than the Beta RR models. They are an open cartridge fork with adjustable rebound and preload. The rear shock is a steel body unit that includes compression, rebound, and preload adjustability. The shock and forks are different than the components found on the RR models. The XTrainer comes equipped with a plastic skid plate and radiator fan, much needed items for difficult trails. You will want to add handguards and likely other protective items such as a radiator and disc guards if you are hitting the really difficult terrain. One other feature to point out on the XTrainer is the suggested retail price of just $7,999. That's about $1,700 less than the Beta 300RR and about $2,000 less than other brands' high-performance two-stroke off-road bikes. So how do all these specs translate into the real world on the trails? As soon as you throw your leg over the seat, you will notice the lower seat height. 1 inch does not sound like a lot, but that combined with the lower foot pegs immediately boosts your confidence due to the lower center of gravity. Combine that with the mellower power delivery, and that will tractor through the slowest and most difficult terrain, and you will find yourself aiming for obstacles that you would likely avoid on other motorcycles. The engine is a lot mellower than the Beta RR models, as well as alternative two-stroke 300s available from other manufacturers, but it is surprisingly fast in most conditions, and the 6-speed transmission will allow you to carry plenty of speed in open terrain. In fact, it'll cruise comfortably at about 75 miles per hour on an open road. The Keihin carburetor is jetted well for a wide range of riding conditions. Some will argue that the more high-tech fuel-injected TPI bikes from KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas run better, but a lot of riders prefer the performance of a carburetor. None of our test riders had any complaints about the carburation. In addition to the 2-position map switch, which provides a small but noticeable difference in the power delivery, you can change the power by adjusting the power valve with an Allen wrench. Turning it clockwise will keep the power valve closed higher into the RPM range, keeping it mellow, while turning it counterclockwise will open the power valve sooner and provide a little more kick. The Beta has a counterbalancer to reduce vibration, and it is a significant improvement over older generation two-strokes, but it still has a little more buzz than what you will find from the KTM, Husqvarna, and Gas 300 two-strokes. It's a small difference that is only noticeable when riding the bikes back-to-back, but it's worth noting. The hydraulic clutch was flawless and provides good feel and never faded over any of our difficult terrain. The 2.1-gallon fuel tank is a little smaller than the 2.5-gallon stock tanks on the RR models. This could be a little limiting if you like to ride long distances. If that is a concern, Beta offers a 2.9-gallon aftermarket tank manufactured by IMS, It's also offered in translucent, which is much easier to fill up without overfilling compared to the stock black tank. The piston brakes perform well. In fact, one of our test riders thought the front brake may be a little too powerful for less experienced riders, but more experienced riders will love the stopping power. The Sachs suspension is a lower grade than the units found on the RR models, but the outright performance is not significantly different despite the reduced travel. The forks in particular need a bit of time to break in to work properly, but are still a bit harsh on small, sharp hits. But they work pretty well at slower speeds, even in rocks and roots. If you're a fast, heavy, or aggressive rider, you will probably find the suspension performance is lacking, but it is good for aggressive trail riding for most riders. Beta comes standard with Michelin Enduro medium tires, which have stiff sidewalls that contribute to the harsh initial suspension travel. Michelin and other brands make better off-road options that will be an upgrade in traction and compliance once you burn through the stock tires. For single-track trails, the low seat height and center of gravity contributes to a great performing chassis. In fact, single-track trails and tough terrain is where this bike really shines for experienced riders. The whole package of chassis, brakes, and power delivery is in the sweet spot in these conditions. Retired self-proclaimed old guy Ray Conway was one of our test riders. He has ridden off-road for most of his life, and at 5'8", he appreciated the size and rideability of the XTrainer. Beginner riders may compare this to entry-level four-strokes that are about $2,000 less expensive. Those bikes are over 60 pounds heavier than the XTrainer, which weighs in at just 238 pounds with a full tank of fuel ready to ride. The weight and lower quality suspension, brakes, and engine performance of those entry-level four-strokes put those in a different class and will be more difficult to ride. If you are an experienced rider that is comparing this with the Beta RR, Sherco, Yamaha, KTM, Husqvarna, or Gas two-stroke off-road models, you'll be surprised at how much easier the XTrainer is to ride, especially in difficult terrain. This is compounded if you are relatively short, but it doesn't give up much in terms of pure speed. If you are a talented rider in great shape, you can probably take advantage of the additional suspension travel, engine performance of the Beta RR and alternative off-road bikes. But the XTrainer will likely improve your confidence and fun factor for just about any level of rider.